Now You See Me 2 is the sequel to the 2013 blockbuster Now You See Me, which I am a huge personal fan of. I thought it was a very smart, creative, clever, well shot, and extremely unique thrill ride. So I was really excited to see the second Now You See Me. And in some aspects, I would say it is better than the first one. But overall, as a package, I think the first movie is a little bit better. So let's get to pros, let's get to cons. The first pro has to easily be the characters. We didn't get to know much about the Four Horsemen in the original movie because they were more of antagonists. There were a couple scenes here or there that we got to see them, but overall they weren't the main characters of the movie. I love the change of way they do it in this movie. They make them the main center of attention, and all of them get huge character development. They also have some excellent chemistry with each other. Woody Allen and Jesse Eisenberg did a phenomenal job. And the newcomer, Lizzie Kaplan, did a phenomenal job as Lula. She was silly, she was fun, she probably has some of the funniest scenes in the entire movie, and the chemistry between the Four Horsemen was brilliant. I also like what they did with Dylan's character. In the first movie, no spoilers, but he was just running around doing nothing, and then they kind of just throw in the plot twist at the end, which is the only problem I had with the first Now You See Me. They did a great job of giving him his own motives and having some brilliant scenes to go along with it. I would still say Mark Ruffalo did the best job as Dylan in this movie, and the chemistry he ends up having with Morgan Freeman throughout the movie I think is also done pretty well. However, the villains is really where the movie starts to fall apart. There's one character that they haven't been showing off in the trailers, and it's best stay that way because he's one of the worst characters in the entire movie, and he's one of the only big problems I have with it. Daniel Radcliffe as the villain is suitable. He doesn't really do much, and they try to connect him to the first Now You See Me, but I think they did an overall bad job with it. However, I wouldn't say the villains bogged down the movie at all, and the movie is really more focused on the Four Horsemen and Dylan, and a little bit of Morgan Freeman, and I was fine with all of it. They did a great job. The second thing I really liked about this movie was the sequences. Now, the first movie didn't really have too many amazing sequences. You have maybe 2 magic shows in the fight with Dylan in the hotel. This movie has way more fun scenes. They were unique, they were creative, they kind of had a Mission Impossible vibe to them. There's an action scene midway through that I think is done very well. The, almost 20-minute finale is great, and I thought those sequences were done really well. There were some parts at the end of the movie that were not really well shot. I can't really say many of them without spoiling it, but it still has some awesome moments in it. And the one thing I will say is that compared to the first movie, this is a completely different styled movie. The first one was more of an interesting, clever, thriller, heist, action movie, in a way. This one has a little bit more of a Mission Impossible styled action vibe to it, which I liked a lot. But if you loved the first movie, you may not necessarily love this one as well. If you were a huge fan of the mini action scene that took place in First Now You See Me between Dylan and Jack, I think you'll like the rest of this movie fine, because those sequences were really fun. But everything beyond that is very different compared to the first movie. And that's what I liked about the movie, but there are a lot of problems that I'm very sad to say. First off, as I said, the sequences were really poorly shot at times, and the villains, oh my gosh, I can't... I'll maybe put up a 5-second spoiler, but skip ahead. But Woody Allen's character's twin brother was just a really stupid idea, and I hated it so much. And also, the entire movie, after watching it, there were a lot more plot holes. I didn't really notice too many plot holes in the first movie. I didn't really notice them that much. If you guys want to point them out to me, that's fine, but I never, caught on to it. But Now You See Me 2 draws such a big attention to the plot holes that, there are just so many things that don't make any sense by the end of the movie. After analyzing it a little bit, I do have a theory, but you shouldn't have to construct a theory of how something worked in a movie like Now You See Me. Because the first one, I didn't need to theorize anything. Maybe you could theorize about the eye or whatever, but everything beyond that, you didn't really have to. The movie explained everything perfectly. But this movie just does lazy attempts to try to explain the sequences away. Not to mention, if you liked the first movie for how interesting they did the magic and how they explained everything, you may not also like this movie. There's a lot of tricks that they don't explain by the end of the movie that might aggravate you as it aggravated me, especially since it was the ones they were making such a big deal about in the trailers. And the way they use the magic is done way, way more unrealistically than in real life. But once again, since they were used in unique ways in the sequences, I didn't mind it too much, but once again, it's a completely different tone than the first movie. One pro that I also want to mention is how they introduce the eye into it. So anyone, this is big spoilers for the first Now You See Me, but the way the first movie ends didn't really feel like it lent itself to a sequel too much, but I think they did a great job at incorporating the eye, what the eye is, whether it's an organization, whether it's this godly, heavenly power of magicians, if it really is like a good group going on. It made the mystery of the eye way more interesting than it did in the first movie, and I was totally okay with the way they did it. However, I do feel at points that the movie just tries to unexplain things, saying, "Oh yeah, it's real magic because the eye exists." It doesn't really answer that question still after the first movie, which I was really disappointed by. However, I did like this movie. I had fun during the sequences that were like brain dead magic action sequence fun. I think if you're trying to analyze it a little more, there's way, way too many plot holes in it, and I think the first movie is overall better. However, if you weren't a fan of the first movie, you're definitely not going to like it now, and even if you were fans of the first movie, you may not like it because the movie takes a completely different style to it. This isn't a horrible movie, but I can't say it was as great or as impressive as the first one is, or that I wanted it to be. So guys, thank you guys so much for watching. The summer just began, so I'm going to be uploading way more videos. There's going to be a lot more movie reviews coming out, and Bioshock's going to be coming out as fast as possible, so you guys can stay tuned for that. Once again, I have something planned for the end of the summer that I hope you guys are all excited for. I'm working on it very, very hard, but I'm going to start working on the channel more, so thank you guys so much for watching this episode of a Gamer's Movie Review, and I'll see you all next time. See ya.